Hello, everyone. This is Ed McGill, host of the podcast Leadership with Ed, with Jon Gordon today. And before we get to his accolades, just want to thank everyone that's watched previous episodes on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. And as you know, every other Wednesday, bright and early, new episodes drop. And today I'm extremely excited to have on here Jon Gordon. So we got a cool bio, but a couple things on the bio that were fun. At the end, it says, Jon believes what he's accomplished in the past is relatively meaningless. So what matters most now is that he has an impact today, and we have some takeaways. We want this to be learning and useful and things that you can take away. But what I've learned about Jon just over the time frame we've met and become friends, he's husband, father, got to meet his son, got to meet his wife at an event we were at together. Best-selling books, and that has inspired millions of readers and audience around the world. When he's not running through airports or speaking to businesses, hospitals, schools, you can find him playing pickleball, which, just so everyone knows, we've only played one time against each other. I am 1-0 against him. I think I caught him in a weak moment when he didn't know we were going to play serious, and it was doubles, so I had a good partner. But we are 1-0. He takes long walks on the beach where a lot of his ideas come. And actually the first time that we had talked was when he was on the beach and doing a gratitude walk. So I'm 1-0 in pickleball. Right now, though, Jon is 18-0 on national bestsellers. So I saw it on LinkedIn today. His latest book, The 7 Commitments of a Great Team, on Amazon, the #1 best-selling leadership book in the country and #1 in a lot of other areas. So, Jon, you do have the street cred of 18-0 because I have 0 best-selling books. That is awesome. Congrats, my friend. That had to feel great to be able to announce that today.
Thank you, Ed. Yes, felt great, really exciting. I'm so thrilled about this book. I mean, I know this book is going to impact so many teams when teams read it together. The fact that it's a bestseller is wonderful. It's my 18th bestseller, as you said, so that's exciting. But more than that is the impact it's going to have. Now let's talk about pickleball for a second. We have not played singles. I'm very competitive, so you can't say anything until we play singles, because we know that my partner was not playing very good and he's a novice, and I was trying to be a very positive teammate with him. So when we get to singles, I think we're going to have to come back on this podcast and share the results, if that's okay.
I think that would be fine. And you heard Jon talk about being a positive teammate. The very first book of Jon's that I read a long time ago, The Energy Bus, which I think the beauty of this was the simplicity of it. I love that a lot of your books are in storytelling mode where you can kind of visualize yourself as the character, or in this example, someone on the bus with the character, the 7 commitments of a team. You talk about your lacrosse coach, and I was fortunate enough to play football and in college, and it just really pulls you back to those times of who had an impact. But before we get to where you are today, I mean, it's such an interesting background. And when I think of commitment, part of how you're shaped today was the lack of commitment early on in your family life. So tell us how we got to the Jon Gordon we are today.
Yeah, lack of commitment from my biological father. And people often say, was your biological father a nice guy? I said, if he was a nice guy, would I call him my biological father? I think I would just call him Dad. But my biological father obviously was part of my birth, and he left when I was a year old. My mom was a single mom till I was 5, and then she remarried, and she remarried my stepfather, who I called Dad, and he became my dad. And he was a wonderful man, a great father, raised me. My biological father was still in my life. I would see him on weekends, not every weekend, but at different times. So we were still involved, but it was never a great relationship, and I never really felt his commitment throughout our life. He never came to my wedding, and we lost touch for like 10 years. So it's been this on and off kind of relationship. And to this day, we do not have a relationship now at all. I believe he's still alive. We haven't talked in about 7-8 years was the last time I talked to him. Yeah, and so my mom passed away when she was 59. My dad, who raised me, passed away about 7, 8 years ago, and I have a brother. And so we grew up in Long Island, New York, and it was a great upbringing. A lot of sports, a lot of playing in the streets, a lot of competition, a lot of battles. That's why I'm so competitive, I believe. Also, it was like Lord of the Flies. You were surviving every day. But I was definitely an athlete that drove a lot what I did. I was a good student, and I would eventually go to Cornell University, play lacrosse there, which they
National
just won the national championship for the first time in 48 years.
time, and
And
school has won it in a long time as well too. That was incredible.
yeah, first time in 48 years. And we never won a national championship when I played there. Unfortunately, we didn't even make it to the NCAA tournament my 4 years there. We battled Princeton, we battled these other teams, but we had some down years the years I was there. We learned a lot of lessons from that, though, in terms of culture and leadership. But Richie Moran, who they talked about a lot on ESPN during Cornell's big win, was my head coach. The Hall of Fame is named after him for the lacrosse world. So that was pretty exciting to see his memory come alive. I was at the game. I went there live, and I got a chance to see all my old teammates. I saw other guys from different generations. I have spoken to the Cornell lacrosse team almost every year over the years, so I know all the young guys who have come up throughout the years, which has been a lot of fun to see them become lacrosse players and then graduates and now businessmen and successful. So it's been a lot of fun doing that over the years as well. So that was very exciting. So I went to Cornell, played lacrosse, and then came out and was I would say an entrepreneur from the very beginning, starting at 22 years old.
Yeah, and that is interesting. And for those of you who don't know, I was listening to one of John's replays of a webinar that he talked about the commitment his mom had to him, and Gordon is actually his mom's maiden name, or her birthright name, and that was part of your commitment to her, the one that was there, that Gordon is her last name. And I thought that
Yeah,
was
it's pretty cool.
hard.
After college, my brother and I took our mom's maiden name of Gordon because the Gordon name meant so much to us. It was our our grandparents' last name and our mom's maiden name. She was Nancy Gordon. So we wanted to take on the Gordon name and live with that name, to have that commitment to her. Commitment recognizes commitment. She was committed to us. We wanted to be committed to her. Our biological father was not committed. So I saw the difference of what it looked like to have a parent who was committed and one who wasn't committed. Same in leadership. You know when your leader is committed to you and you know when they're not. Same things in terms of when you're buying from a company or someone who's selling a product or service. Are they committed to you? You want to do business with people who you trust and who are committed to you. Well, guess what? My mom was deeply committed to me and my brother, and we wanted to honor her commitment. So every day I think of my last name, it really means a lot to me because I'm recognizing that commitment and I'm carrying on the legacy that she left in me to others.
Well, let's talk about that because, whether it's Father's Day or other events, I was fortunate that I had a great dad. Not from an easy standpoint. Unfortunately, he had lost his job at the family-owned lumber store. It wasn't our family's lumber store, and just couldn't compete against the Lowe's, the Menards, and so we had the government cheese, the food stamp. Lost the house. I went to a Catholic high school. Go to the priest that was the superintendent and say, "Hey, I can't afford to go here anymore." Luckily, I was a good enough athlete, John, that he said, "Well, if you do manual labor and paint the bleachers by hand, and before the baseball games, if you're the grounds crew, we'll cover the tuition." But I saw actually a very kind and giving, and someone that was a servant leader, especially when things weren't going his way. I mean, that had to be tremendously embarrassing to, lose a house and mow our neighbor's yard for $50, which they were doing kind of as a gift, I think, to just, help out and things. And I don't remember him ever showing that, though internally that had to just be, breaking him up. Now you have two children, your daughter that's now speaking. I saw some of her videos. She spoke in Iowa, the Iowa High School Association. Then I met your son Cole, at your event. How hard is it for them to be your child? And then how do you and your wife how do you get them where they can be their own people? Because your wife's been tremendously successful herself. I mean, this is a high energy, high successful group. How are Cole and Jade surviving this?
Well, I think they grew up with this. I mean, they grew up with watching me do this work and being a part of it. And the funny thing is, they weren't really involved. They were doing their own thing. They were going to school. I was out there speaking on the road, hustling, going from one place to the next. And it was all on me. My wife was not involved in our business at all. My wife was really focused on the kids. And so I was writing, I was speaking, and they were doing their thing. And then when I was home, I was dad. I was very involved in their lives, going to their games, supporting them. When my son went down to IMG, he was a tennis player. I went down in between speaking engagements. I had one day, and I would drive down to Tampa, 3.5 hours, go see my son. Sometimes just bring him some food, and then he'd say, "All right, Dad, see you later. I'm gonna go hang out with my friends." And I literally would then drive back. I mean, I'm like, I did that 4 or 5 times. And at the time, he didn't appreciate it, but now he does. He saw that I was very involved and I was very committed to him. When they went to college, I would visit them. So we were always very involved in their lives. And then after they graduated college, went to the workforce, Jade went to hospitality at first. My son was selling security alarms, which I thought would be great for him, going door to door. And Cole was doing that. My wife at that time got more involved in our business and also in investing in real estate. She started her own podcast. We wrote Relationship Grit together. So then it became sort of a family business with her and I doing this work together and also separately. And then Jade came to me one day and decided she wanted to be a speaker. And I was shocked because I never thought she would do this work because she was terrified to speak in public. And now Jade is out there speaking to companies and organizations and sports teams. She worked with Auburn Golf. They won the SEC championship after she worked with them. So she's out there and she's phenomenal. She's dynamic. And I'm not just saying that as her dad. Like I, at first was like, I don't know if she's going to be a good speaker because she was, very scared and timid. And now her personality is coming through and she's telling jokes and she's motivating. She's encouraging. So at 26, almost 27 years old, she's commanding a large room in an audience. So now we got her doing that. And then Cole thought we were crazy. Like Cole's like, I don't want any part of this crazy family doing this work. And next thing you know, he joined because Angela, who heads up our sales, and we have a certification program. We now have Circle. We're about to launch Certified Positive Leader, which is going to be epic and really cool. Angela said, hey, I need some help with sales. Do you think Cole would be interested? Because Cole was in between jobs at that point. I said, I don't know. You could ask him. I don't want to be his boss though, but you could ask him. She did. He said, yeah, I'd love to help. And so she started coaching him up. He got involved and now it's his thing. And I'm not his boss. I do not want to be his boss and have that kind of relationship. I want to be his dad. But at the same time, he's very involved and always giving me ideas. Jade's now giving me ideas. Ed, I was given a talk and Jade said, I think you should tell the story differently at the end. You should do this, this, and this. And you know what? She was right. I've been speaking for over 20 years.
How awesome is that?
And here she was giving me a tip that actually was great advice. So really, it's a family business, but more than that, it's a family mission. Like we have been on a mission to impact people, develop leaders, and now they're just joining the family mission, which I've always been doing, and now they're a part of it. But we really think about it. Like we look at each other. We know we're here to do this. There's no separation between our work life and our personal life, and that's okay. This is who we are. This is what we do.
See, and that's awesome. And as you talk about where you didn't see that for Jade, my oldest son had said he was going to go into education after he had a brief stint in college football where he did okay in football. He didn't go to the class, though. And where he was at that time, you had to do both together.
Right.
It wasn't, one of the schools down south. And when he said that, we're like, man, I'm not sure if we see that. And now he has his master's in special needs education. He sought after. He teaches, overseas. He just needed to get, to where he felt comfortable. And when you were talking about, this positivity and enthusiasm, and I'll tell some of the people my experience with your company. But the energy bus was created because of the lack of positivity and enthusiasm. And I'm not sure anyone in your family liked you at the time frame when you wrote this. So part of this for everyone to hear and then let John tell the story is, okay, we see John, or you may see him now in his podcast, and he and his wife are writing books together, and you're thinking, boy, that person has it going. He just talked about Cole and Jade and how well things are going, but that is not the Jon Gordon from 20 years ago. And really talk about that, and then how just your faith and God and some of the vision stuff that happened when you weren't a good leader, honestly, I would imagine, from what you've said and talked about.
Yeah, Ed, my teammates cannot believe what I'm doing now. They're like, you work with the greatest coaches and athletes and business leaders on the planet. You were a mental wreck in college. And I really was. And also my 20s, I was a seeker. I was trying to make it. I was trying to be successful. And I had a lot of success in my 20s. I opened up some bars in Atlanta, in Buckhead. I began a nonprofit organization called the Phoenix Organization. I was raising money for youth-focused charities. I was bringing all these young people together to this, incredible group, and then fundraisers we would do. And then I was moving and shaking. I was hanging with the mayor and the Secretary of State, and governors were coming up to me, wanted to connect with all these young people that I had organized. So I had a lot going on, but at the same time, I always had like this angst and fear and worry and negativity in the back of my mind that was always eating away at me, always affecting me. The doubt, the distortion, the negative thoughts, the distractions, the discouragement, a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry. And so I lost my job during the dot-com crash. I had sold the restaurants and just been working in a dot-com thinking I was going to make my fortune there, 100,000 shares, and everything went under. And we had just moved to Jacksonville from Atlanta. So now I have this house. I have 2 little kids. I'm newly married, a few years, and I am crumbling from the inside out. Everything I've been trying to build has now crumbled. Every dream was now gone, and I'm just trying to survive, just trying to hang on. And it was by a thread. And I'm being really negative to Catherine at that time because I was so fearful and worried and anxious. And I felt like such a failure. I was 31, and everything was just falling apart. But that was what needed to happen. I needed to lose that guy and that ego that was so focused on success. And I remember during that time, my wife said, if you don't change, we're over. You have to change. And she was right. I needed to change. And I said, give me a chance to change. I wasn't sure if she was going to give me a chance, but she did. And I began researching ways I could be more positive. So this was during the emerging field of positive psychology. And I began researching these ideas, and I began practicing some of them. Like I would take these concepts I would read, and then I would come up with these ideas. Like the thank you walk is my idea. I began taking walks of gratitude every day because I read you can't be stressed and thankful at the same time. So I began doing these walks and practicing gratitude, and my wife noticed a shift immediately in that. And I also remember saying, what am I born to do? Why am I here? Because I wasn't sure. And writing and speaking came to me in that moment. All right, how am I going to provide for my family? I don't know. I have to get a job or I'm going to lose my house. I second mortgaged my home, $20,000 in credit cards, and opened up a Moe's Southwest Grill franchise, the first Moe's Southwest Grill in Florida. It was the 5th in the entire country. And I opened up this Moe's on a wing and a prayer with no other money, no backup money. I violated all business plans, but I'm 31 years old and I need to provide for my family. It's amazing what you'll do when your family's future is on the line. And we went everywhere and anywhere to promote the Moe's. I flyered movie theater, cars that were in the movie theater near our Moe's. I went door to door to sell caterings to the local businesses. Catherine helped me. We were doing whatever it took. And eventually, I was able to make it successful. But it took a little while. We almost went bankrupt a few times. But each time we almost went bankrupt, each time, something happened where someone owed me money, where someone offered me an opportunity to consult with them. One was $13,000 of 6 weeks of consulting to teach them about wireless technology, which is what the technology company I work for sold. And I said, I don't know how it works because I'm not a tech guy. They said, it's okay, just teach us how to sell it. And as that money ran out of our account, we made our first profit at Moe's. And after that, it really began taking off. Eventually turned that Moe's into making $30,000 a week and made it successful. Eventually opened a few more Mo's, and it was during that time that I actually started to speak to local businesses and local communities and local organizations. I did 80 free talks initially just to get my name out there, just to do it. I spoke to the Jaguars sales team, Jacksonville Jaguars sales team, and I did that. And I was I guess, working on my craft, just doing the work, getting out there, trying to make it happen somehow, some way. And eventually that just started to build and build and build. And when I look back, it was the scariest time in my life. It was the most fearful time, but it was also the most faithful. That was when my faith was born, because I saw how God carried us every step of the way. I saw how much I prayed I prayed nonstop. I literally prayed like, God, help me help you, God. Help me help you. It was my Jerry Maguire prayer. I prayed, God, show me the money, God, show me the money. It was another Jerry Maguire prayer. I literally was praying in desperation. And I saw one miracle after another carry us. And I look back and I know why. It was so I would do this work, so I would impact others. Because there were moments when I said, God, provide for me and my family, please, God, and I will do your work. Because I didn't know how we were going to make it. I didn't know how I was going to pay the bills. I didn't know how I was going to feed the kids besides giving them Moe's food, because they were getting tired of Moe's food. What am I going to do? And it was incredible how each time I prayed like that, God showed up. So when I'm asked to do a nonprofit here or there, I can't do them all, but I make sure every year I do some pro bono nonprofits and things like that to give back. And then also just the work I do is to give back. And people email me all the time asking for advice and help, and I always respond. On Instagram, I'll respond. On social media, I'll respond, because I remember being stuck and saying, God, provide for me and I will do your work. And what is that work? I know it's to impact others, to encourage, to inspire, and now it's to develop positive leaders who make a positive impact in every business, school, team, organization, and community around the world. Because if we can help people lead positive, they're going to transform their organizations and they're going to impact their families and communities.
See, and that's awesome, because when I was at training camp with you, this mantra of tying it to leadership, business, sports, and faith. So 2 questions would be, how are you able to work faith into these discussions? Because that is an important fact or important part of who you are. I've never found it overbearing, though. I may not have said that correctly. Sometimes you go there, you're like, okay, is this person really authentic? It's more natural when you talk about it, and it's in the context. It just seems to be interwoven versus kind of in your face. I found it really refreshing. So is that always a part when you're talking to these different organizations? And do you find that positive leadership fits, whether it's, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the, Sean McVay at the Rams, to Dabo Sweeney, who's Mr. Positivity, to the hospitals that you work with, to the schools, to the businesses? Is that positivity something that is linear, that can be interwoven regardless of the field, Jen? So maybe talk about the faith piece first, and then the positivity, which to me is kind of a part of faith, of just being positive and optimistic and a good person.
Yeah, let's talk about training camp first. It was awesome having you there. And so many have said that event was literally the best event they've ever been to. And I have to agree, not because it was my event. Jordan said it was the best event he's ever been to times 100. It was so special to have these incredible coaches: Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell, coach of the Vikings; Matt Rule, coach of Nebraska; Dabo Sweeney; Eddie George; Jim Rome; Jay Glazer; Trent Dilfer; Mac Brown; Buzz Williams; Corey Close. I mean, it was such an incredible collection of great leaders, not just coaches, leaders who could lead anybody, anywhere, anytime. And as you know, they were phenomenal people. Like, people were blown away to meet them. And that, I think, is important, because that kind of event goes to what you're talking about. That was an integration. There's no separation between our work life and our faith life. Integration. It comes from the word integer, which means whole and complete. And I don't want to be overbearing with my faith. I just want to be me. This is who I am. I'm not trying to be anybody but me. I'm whole and complete. I'm a faithful person who believes in God. I am here to do his work. I know I exist because there's a creator of the universe who created me. And in that creation, I am here to live the purpose that he has for me. Success is the fulfillment of God's plan for your life. That's how I define it. And so are you living out that fulfillment and doing that work? And so for me, I don't want to be overbearing at all. I just want to share who I am. And I'm glad you said that, because people often say, I never feel threatened by your faith, never threatened by what you say. And it's true, it's integrated into the books a lot of times. Not all my books, but some of my books. It's integrated sometimes in my work. My talks, I always want to respect the audience. I always want to respect that not every audience, you're not there to share your faith with the audience. You're sure to help them and add value to them and encourage them and support them and help them be their best. So my job is to provide value and make a difference and make an impact and help you be all that you're meant to be. If you want to ask me about my faith, I'm going to tell you, but I'm not going to sit there and try to, evangelize with it to that audience. But I am going to tell you about who I am and what drives me and what makes me tick. If you ask, I'm going to tell you where that inspiration comes from, where those ideas come from, because I'm not smart enough, right? I haven't written 32 books by myself, 18 books by myself. Trust me, Ed, we know I'm not that smart. You've met me, you know I'm not that smart. And so just knowing that it comes from God and a greater power, and those ideas just come to me, boom, like lightning strikes. And I wrote the 7 Commitments of a Great Team in 16 days, right? So there's an integration.
How did you do it? I know it was tied to your coach from the lacrosse days.
Yeah.
Truly just sat down and wrote it in 16 days?
16 days of inspiration. 54 years to write, 16 days to type. Because as I sat down, it was all the ideas, all the experience, and also the ideas that were coming to me when I was writing. I was in such a zone. I was connected to God, and I'm in this flow, and the stories coming through, and the ideas and the dialogue. As you know, it's a fable, and the players and the coach all coming together and uniting together. It was like this incredible experience as I'm writing this book. It all just flowed. So again, going back to the integration of faith, training camp demonstrates that. It was leadership, business, sports, and faith. Business leaders were there, sports leaders were there, leaders of education were there, healthcare leaders were there, and then we got entrepreneurs, and then we have also coaches were sharing their faith. Some of the coaches were sharing, hey, this is how I got through the tough times. This is how I was able to overcome. Other coaches shared their scriptures that fueled them and motivated them. So that's where it is. But anyone that was there of different faiths still felt comfortable. I had a lot of people of different faiths, not of the Christian faith, and they loved it. They felt welcome. They felt like they belonged there, and they were encouraged and inspired by it. So that's a public event. And then again, when I go to a business, a big old corporation, a Fortune 500 company, a school district, I'm not going to be out there talking about my faith. So me, it's important to live it. Who am I and how am I living that faith? And the best way I can live it is to care about you and really care about you and serve you and love you. I call it love, serve, and care, which is what I wrote about in The Carpenter. People say that's my best book I've ever written, is The Carpenter. Love, serve, and care. And if you love, serve, and care, you're a leader, and people are going to follow you when you do that.
So let's make sure everyone wrote that down. I just love that's a kind of pun. Love, serve, and care. And what Jon was talking about, which was so interesting at training camp, one, as opposed to a giant room with thousands of people, it was actually an intimate sized room, which made it even better. But what was, I think, struck people, and people asked me about the talks people gave, and was it motivational and rah-rah? And I was like, well, yeah, you definitely felt motivated on what's possible, but the authenticity of people and the struggles that they're all going through. I don't want to specifically name names, but one of the coaches that had been fired before saying, God, that was really hard. And, you start thinking about, okay, what I do wrong? How'd that not go well? One of the coaches that had hit the pinnacle of his sport in the following year didn't go well. And some of the self-doubt, and do I just get out of football? And it was just like, wow, that was wild. And who does someone like that call? You can't call your defensive coordinator in and say, hey, thinking of quitting, I'm really struggling here and stuff. It was the authenticity and the rawness of the room was really incredible, I thought.
And what's cool, those guys that were in the room were all friends of mine, and I'm the guy that they call because they trust me, because I'm there for them, because I don't want anything from them, And I believe that all the challenges I had in my past led me to be someone who could serve them and help them through their challenges. And that's where the trust was built. Like, everyone's there when you're winning, but I was there when they're losing and when they're going through the tough time. And I think that's important. Are you that kind of friend? Are you that trusted advisor? Are you there to really help that coach get through that difficult time? And I did love that all the coaches pretty much talked more about their brokenness and their mistakes and their failures. And Dabo talked about where he came from and his father's alcoholism and growing up in an environment like that. And so everyone was so raw and real, as you said, authentic and vulnerable. And then it made you appreciate their successes and who they are as people. But no one wanted to talk about their championships. And there were a number of Super Bowl champions in there. And Dave Roberts is a good friend, World Series champion, right? I've worked with Dave. They're not going to talk about that. They're such great people. They're going to talk about how they can help you, how they overcame, and the lessons of leadership. These leaders have a common thread, and it's their integrity, it's their optimism, it's their belief, it's their ability to pour into others and invest in others. And I would also say, Ed, their competitive spirit. They're competitive, just like you and I in the pickleball court. It's their competitive spirit.
I think maybe we'll end on that part, and I got a few other things here. But when you said love, serve, and care, what was intriguing to me was, especially within the NFL coaches, that they're all close friends, and even one of them that wasn't there, that was texting them, and they're competing on Sundays, and
Yes.
careers are on the line, money's on the line, all these things, and to hear the one when you did the moderation in that example was with Sean and Kevin, to have Sean McVay talk about Kevin. And then actually, after I was fortunate, I was able to talk to Kevin a little bit. I'm like, okay, this might be the greatest person in the world. I've never been, like, I'm not an anti-Viking fan. They're just, I kind of watch them like, okay, I can't root against that guy. I mean, he couldn't have been any nicer and looking you in the eye. I mean, I'm just Ed from Iowa sitting there talking to him, and he's 6'6". He's a big dude. But just, he was present when we were talking, and I thought he didn't have to do that. But to hear Sean and him and then talk about Coach LaFleur and others, it was interesting. Competitors that, hey, we can be friends for 60 minutes. If we're playing each other, we're going to compete, but then we're going to serve each other and help each other. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's like me and you in the pickleball court. We compete, and then when we're done, we're friends. But yes, they want to beat each other, and they want to win. It's like brothers. You want to beat your brother, and then you're done, and you love your brother. How cool was Sean McVay interviewing Kevin O'Connell? That was an idea I had. Instead of just Kevin speaking, I thought it would be cool if they interviewed each other or one interviewed the other, and I just love that part of it. That was really dynamic. Every decision we made about the interviews and who should talk and who should do what just really worked out. And bringing Matthew West to play music was, I think, the best decision I ever made in terms of, besides marrying my wife, but bringing Matthew there. He was so good. He was the perfect fit for this audience, and I just loved him. And everyone now is like, who didn't know of Matthew, how could you not know of Matthew West, is now a huge fan, which is cool.
Let me ask you this, because you had mentioned the coaching certification, and I have, I did a safari with my son, the one that's the special needs teacher, when he was in Nairobi, Kenya. And they talked about the big five, so you had the elephant and the buffalo and the leopard and the cheetah and then the rhinoceros. And then I had the big five for your books. Now you've added I know you have more, but like training camp and positive power leadership, positive team. Tell everyone a little bit about this coaching certification process, because I had mentioned how Gina on our team is, now excited to learn more. She's going to be connecting to Angela to do that, because this whole positive thing, for those of you that are on here, when I said the book was an easy read, like that first one and things, and maybe, John, talk about some of the concepts may be simple. Implementation, though, can be hard. It's easy to be positive when things are going well, and then the first time you got hit in the face, that you could build a whole foundation for your firm with these big six. And that's the reason why we want Gina to go through the certification and be the leader and champion of what I think we already have, a great culture. But talk about that.
Well, great cultures are always trying to get better, and great leaders are always trying to improve their organizations and teams. Billy Donovan, when he came to training camp, he said, I want to learn and grow. I can't wait to listen to the other speakers. So here he comes to our event and he's looking to grow. So how do we get better? Well, you got to have frameworks, you got to have principles and practices. And that's what we created with our certification. We give you our mindset, leadership, teamwork, certification, and framework. And that allows you to deliver programs to your team, to your employees, to even your customers, to develop your culture, to develop leaders, and build stronger teams. So everything that I do is all about developing positive leaders who build stronger teams. And we believe that positive leadership is the competitive advantage. And positive leaders are people who elevate people, places, and performance. So this is not just a nice way to lead. This is like, how do we build a great team that actually accomplishes great results? Dabo Sweeney is a positive leader. Dave Roberts, a positive leader. Matt Rule, a positive leader. These are guys that they're going to get on you. They're going to drive you.
I was going to say, this is not be a soft leader. It's positive.
No,
there's a
positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, demanding but not demeaning.
Ooh, yeah.
A lot of love and a lot of accountability. A competitive advantage. These leaders are the most competitive people I know on the planet. They want to win, but they know that to win, they got to believe in their team and encourage them in order to win. Whereas negative leadership or dictatorial style leadership doesn't work anymore. So positive leadership really is the way forward. So I created a certification around positive leadership to help people be better leaders. The trainers that we have, they train these leaders to be able to go deliver these programs in their organizations and in their companies, and that's what we're talking about here. And then I'm launching Certified Positive Leader, which is going to be very exciting. And if you become a certified trainer with us, you also will get to be part of Certified Positive Leader, because we want you to also learn how to be a leader. Now, some people who come in as a certified positive leader, they may never want to be a trainer. And if you don't want to be a trainer, that's okay. Maybe you just want to learn how to lead better. Well, if you just want to lead better, that's for you to be a certified positive leader. If you want to lead better and train others to be better leaders, then that is our training program. So we're going to have two now, certified trainer and then certified positive leader. And I'm really excited about the leader part because my mission is to develop positive leaders. So now we're going to give you all these tools and practices to be a better leader. We're going to give you principles and strategies on how to elevate your leadership and elevate your team. And we're going to give you everything that you need to be a great leader. So I'm really focused on developing leaders and then trainers who will multiply, because they can then develop leaders all around the world. So when you have both going on, that's how you're going to really impact the world.
Well, that's why, just for everyone, out there, John's clients, it is not only these coaches, but, he's done a lot of work for Northwestern Mutual, West Point, In-N-Out Burgers. It is things that can go into the Fortune 500 world and change teams, the small business owner and change teams, the sports team. It's really interchangeable. That leadership is intriguing, that anyone in any organization can be a leader. And then it's just, how are you impacting others? And I would argue that this, when you said, that's the competitive advantage, is you're looking for, how do we get to the next level? How do we get more out of our people? You can be demanding if they know that you care, and that you love them, and that they are center to everything that you're doing. And so when you talk about, last question, your legacy, because how old are you now, John?
I'm now 54.
54. Okay. So what's the next 10 years look like? And what's your legacy 10 years from now? What do you want people to be saying?
It's really developing positive leaders who make a positive impact in every business, school, team, organization, and community around the world to create a more positive world. So it's really millions of people who are now leading in a more positive way. They're encouraging others. They're demanding but not demeaning, loving but not enabling. They're elevating the people and the places and the performance of their team, of their organizations. They are doing so to create more optimism and belief in others. They're developing incredible relationships. So if I do my job, I will have a lot of leaders, which I have a good coaching tree already, but I want a lot more. If I do my job, we'll have a lot more leaders who are now leading at a higher level, and they're leading from a place of love instead of fear. And as you do that, you then attract more people to you. You build great cultures, and you actually get great results. Cornell winning the national championship recently, that coach, Connor Busick, I've been pouring into him. He is a positive leader. Like, that guy gets it. So you just know it. Like, it's no longer a secret. Look at all the people who are leading and succeeding. The old style is no longer working, and the fresh approach is this leadership style approach, and it's the key to business. So when Dell and EMC were merging, I worked with Dell and EMC to help them become one united, connected leadership team at their different departments. I went to Singapore and Ireland and Austin and all over, working with their leadership groups to do that. No different than working with Snapchat, like I did when Evan Spiegel and Snapchat were struggling. I worked with him and his leadership team. They became more positive, more optimistic, and they fought the pessimism that was coming in, and they turned around their company. And he said it was the most important decision they made was to develop and become positive leaders. So you see it over and over again in business and in sports, in education, healthcare, everywhere. So my legacy is that this will be like common. Now, we won't even have to call it positive leadership. It should just be called leadership. It's like, I want organic food just to be called food. It shouldn't be called organic. It should all be organic. It should all be positive. It should all be healthy. It should all be good for us. So that will be part of my legacy. And then, the way I look at it, Ed, kids will become adults, and those adults will one day talk to my children. They'll meet my children. I won't be here, and they'll say, "Hey, your dad made a difference in my life. Something he wrote, something he said, or his training or his program helped me in amazing ways." And that's sort of the end in mind of how I view it. It's going to be a great funeral. I won't be there, but it's going to be a great funeral.
Well, I hope I'm there, and I'm going to end with these two things here.
I hope you're there too. That means you'll outlive me.
That's right. Two things.
Which would be great.
As soon as you were talking about these great leaders and leading positively, Kevin O'Connell said something that stuck with me, because here you really have this quarterback whisper. How do you go from, Sam Darnold, from just being beat down and drugged through the mud to having an incredible season, and then, obviously, now moving on, but getting, the contract. And he was talking about, always having, the whole team's back, but the quarterback's back. But he said, my team knows, and especially my quarterback knows, there will never be an enemy on the sideline as they're coming off the field. And I thought, that just resonated with me. Like, how many times when someone's had a tough day, or maybe the meeting didn't go as well, if you're running a sales organization, or someone screwed something up and they're coming, are you there? You still got to hold people accountable, still got to be demanding. It isn't like Kevin says, "Hey, great job, you threw that pick six," but it's not an enemy. Hey, let me show you what happened, what you did. And I thought that was an incredible line. And then the last piece that I thought of, and this is a testament to you as you were talking about your legacy, always loved the movie Gladiator. There's a line in there where he says, "What we do in life echoes in eternity." And when I think about what you've been able to do, the lives you've been able to impact, and then doing it in an authentic, real way, that was the fun part about spending time with you in person. Is everything we've had on the phone or Zoom or etc., you were the same and authentic, and that great smile and fun. You're changing lives. You're changing the world. Let's just make this a great, positive place. But anything you want to end with, John?
Well, I just want to say thank you for all that you do, Ed. You are a great embodiment of leadership. I wanted you to have a great experience, and you did. Nothing made me happier than looking over and seeing you talk to Matt Rule, who I know you root for Nebraska. You love Matt, and you got a chance to spend time with him, and I love that. I saw you talking to Dabo Sweeney, and I'm like, all right, that's awesome.
Okay,
and so
now too, so that he has two boys there too. You see a good dad, good boys. That was like, wow, that was neat to see them.
Yes, like just a good man who put his family first, who was able to win championships and still coach his son's baseball teams. How cool was that? So I just appreciate you and the kind of leader that you are, how you model it for others. Because I often say this, it's easy for me to write about leadership. It's hard to actually live it. And there are times I am not the best leader. I know that. When I was playing pickleball with Cole, I was yelling at Cole on the court. I was not Kevin O'Connell. I was not the quarterback whisperer. I'm like, come on, Cole, let's go. What are you doing with that shot? I need to be a better leader at times on the court and also in my life. So I tell people I'm not the best leader. I'm the best at helping leaders be their best. But along the way, I'm now doing everything that I'm teaching and I'm growing, I'm getting better. That part, because I'm naturally negative, has been harder for me, but it's a journey that I'm on to be the best leader I can be, not just help other leaders be the best they can be. And the two going together is really powerful, because then you walk the walk. Then there's moral authority. But to let people know that I have to work on it, I think people appreciate that, because we all could get better. And I know that my team will tell you I've improved dramatically, because there's a lot of pressure on me speaking and then writing and then demands and deadlines. And then I come back and I also have a company, a training company that I'm leading. It's not easy. But at the same time, my capacity has increased, my capability has increased, because I'm literally doing everything that I teach. And I know that if you decide to become a part of that, I'm talking about the people listening, and get involved in my world, you're going to grow too, because these principles work, and they work for Sean McVay, they work for Dabo Sweeney, they work for Kevin O'Connell and Eddie George, they work for Corey Close, they work for every leader that was there, they work for every company I work with, and they'll work for you too. So that's what I want to say. You've got to do the work. We can talk about it, but you got to take action. And the 7 commitments of a great team is all about, what are you going to commit to be your best, and then bring out the best in others? What are you going to commit to? What are you going to give to be your best? And what will you give up to help the team be their best? Because there's something you have to give up as well. There are things you have to give up that are holding you back. So read 7 commitments of a great team to identify what you need to give and what you need to give up. That will make you stronger, and it will make your team stronger. And we have a 7 commitments checklist as well that you'll find if you go to 7commitments.com. The number 7commitments.com. And if you go there, you'll see a checklist, and you can see what commitments you need to make and which ones you're making right now.
So that is awesome. We're going to put all those different things in the post production, so everyone will be able to see that. John, love our friendship, love what you're doing. Thank you for your time today. You're the best, and this is Ed McGill signing off for Leadership with Ed. Have a great day, everyone.